Mike Owens here. Today I'm joined by Tyron, the chosen one Woodley, former UFC welterweight champion, who's now turns towards a PFL celebrity judging role. Tyron, great to sit down and chat with you today. How are things with you?
Man, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, and it's good to be here.
First and foremost, let's talk about the PFL judging role. This is, I think, a third, if not fourth time in this spot. How has the experience been for you?
And it's been phenomenal for me, especially being an up-and-coming hungry fighter that was trying to break out and find his way, as well as to being a fighter who achieved greatness within the UFC, winning several world titles, and then also as just an artist. I'm an overall artist. But when you look at me, you see me as mixed martial arts first, but it's a lot of different layers to me. And I think that helps me from an entertainment standpoint of being in big fights and, big moments and having other things outside of mixed martial arts as well. It helps me kind of look at the fighter from more than just a martial arts standpoint and see if they're the full deal, if they're the whole package, and if everybody is going to be talking about them when we want to watch them fight.
I was looking at your records earlier. You had obviously the split decision against Gastelum, and then the majority draw against Wonderboy, and then obviously the majority victory against Wonderboy. So in those three fights in just the space of a couple of years, the judging was very much key to you staying in the position that you stayed as the champion. How important is it to have good judging in this sport?
It's great to have good judging in the sport. I'm glad that we don't have to actually judge the fight for the win and loss. We're just judging and we're giving our vote, which is one vote. And then the fans are going to have opportunity to do the Bud Light vote where they can vote. And it's one of the few sports where you actually see the fans are involved with the vote, because I feel that sometimes the fans are more educated than actual judges. A lot of these judges come over from a boxing commission, but the fans are diehard. They know that, okay, Damian Maia is a jiu-jitsu guy. So if I start taking them down in advance of position and passing his guard and sweeping them and getting them in their submissions, I may want to score that higher because my background is wrestling and striking. So I think that the judging is a huge role, but I feel like at least from the standpoint of where the person's trajectory goes, or are they eligible for this contract, I think it's important to have people like myself and also people like the fans, because they're watching. If they're saying that he's the guy, then they're the ones that's watching the fight. And this is not all about art. It's not all about fighting. It's part entertainment as well. So if these people say, I'm entertained by him, he won, I want to watch him, and we see the same thing, I think that's a pretty good way to judge who's the next guy up.
Obviously, when we think about Tyron Woodley's career, we think of it in many ways in two halves. We think of the Strikeforce days and we think of the UFC days. With that being said, as the sport grows and these other organizations get bigger, has working with the PFL impressed you?
Yeah, it's just the sport is so fast now. I remember when I entered the sport, I was the only one I felt was fast. You know what I mean? I felt like everybody else was like strong, or I felt like they had a really strong martial art background, whether it was wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking, but I never felt like they were equally well-rounded. They were like what we call a freestyle fighter back in the day, was someone that can kind of strike, grapple, and wrestle a little bit. So we would call them a freestyle fighter. But now mixed martial arts, that is the base. Most people are starting with all martial arts. They aren't coming in from wrestling. They aren't coming in from striking. They aren't coming in from jiu-jitsu. They're starting, at 16, 17 years old at complete mixed martial arts, doing it all together, which is different because when I used to coach wrestling, I was one of the top coaches in the world for MMA. That's how I got into the sport. I was a highly touted out coach because I would spar with them. I wasn't scared to get hit. I learned pretty quick. I was in great cardiovascular shape. And I was a very, very strong, dominant wrestler. And the wrestling style that I had, the explosive style, a lot of upper body clinching, that was very easily to translate to MMA because there's a lot of clinch against the cage and guys that can blast, double leg you and pick you up and slam you like a Rampage action or something like that. Those are the people that really got the hoorays and the cheers from the crowd. The regular grinding wrestling and some of the things that we lose in translation if you don't know what's going on, they didn't really wow over the crowd. Yeah. So I feel like for me, I was teaching really the ops. I was teaching them how to stop a wrestler. And by doing that so often and by being in such good shape, it put me in a position where I was like, why don't I give this sport a try? I really got into MMA to give it a try. But anything I do, I try to be the best in. So since I was in it, I was going to try to be the best in it. And I feel like when you look at my career, you look at the Strikeforce days, those are the more up and coming, hungry fighter, right? And then when I first got to the UFC, this is when I was trying to prove who I was and earn my key. Then after I did that, I was like, begging for an opportunity to show you guys I'm the best. And then it got to the point where I was the best, and then it was undeniable. I was one of the best that's ever done it. So now the PFL is kind of embodying all of that. They're putting it all together. They got fighters that have fought on the big stages before. They got fighters that never fought. But it really doesn't matter how many followers you got, how many tires you can flip over, and who's going to vouch for you. If you're training with this guy, you out of this camp, you got to put up or shut up. And I feel like that's kind of what a sport should kind of go towards. If you can fight, you can fight. If you can make people watch, you can make people watch. If you can do both, now you got something going.
No, it makes total sense. And obviously you could do both of those in terms of make people fight and also make people watch. With that being said, you've made no hint at retirement. You, as far as I can see, you look destined to fight again. What's next for you in the immediate future?
I'm working on a couple of fights right now. Yeah, I'm working on a couple of fights this year. I mentioned fighting kickboxing, and then I got every top kickboxing organization hit me up. Everybody calling me out. I like where I'm at right now because I've had a couple lessons here recently, and a lot of people view those as, he may not be the killer that I was scared to fight when he was at the top. So a lot of fighters think that I'm the guy that they want to try to fight now, because if you fight me and you possibly defeat me, you may capture the skeletons in my closet. You may get the titles. You may get the recognition. You beat this guy. When you look at most guys' resume, I'm the biggest name on their resume. I'm the biggest name on Usman's resume. I'm the biggest name on Gilbert, Colby Covington, Luque, even Jake Paul. I'm the biggest name that they've beaten on their resume. So I like that guys think that, because low key, I'm in better shape. The wisdom that I have now just from training with GT, he's Floyd Mayweather's boxing coach, Clarissa Shields, myself, Adrian Broner. It's a lot of times I was knocking people out with just terrible technique. And I'm like, if I could go back, which I can't, and nor do I want to, I feel like I could have got more fighters out of there. And I feel like now, just with that knowledge and that wisdom, and also the grit, and I also train with younger fighters to remind me of the young, hungry Tyron. When I do all those things together and just being smarter and wiser, I feel like I'm going to be more of a problem. So to answer your question, I'm definitely looking at fighting a couple times this year. I was supposed to fight January. I had a contract to fight KSI in Houston. We were supposed to sell out the Toyota Arena. It was going to be me versus KSI. It was going to be Dylan Dennis versus Logan Paul. And we were going to sell that out pretty easily. And something happened where Logan got injured and he hurt his leg, hurt his MCL in I think it was a WWE match in Saudi Arabia. So he was off. He was scratched from that card. He couldn't fight in January. So then Dylan Dennis got paired up with KSI because KSI wanted the easier opponent. He could have fought me. He could have did that. Even after Dylan Dennis pulled out, he went to my dog Temper. He went to a Temper from FaZe Clan instead of going back to the original person. So I don't like when guys do that, because you're trying to utilize my name. He's been speaking of me for 2 years. You're trying to utilize my name to get clout. And it's just such a clickbait clout world we live in right now. It's all cap. And I really want people like that to be exposed. If you're gonna say you're a real fighter, fight real fighters, right?
Yeah.
And don't talk about fighting them and then ask the fans, and then 1 million people vote on this deal and they say you should fight me, and then you don't fight me. Don't send me a contract. Don't send me these ridiculous hydration clauses and weights that's not even a weight class, and just try to give yourself every advantage. And then I consent to all, and then you still don't fight. You can't walk around and saying you're a real fighter and you'll fight anybody. Now, you can say, okay, I got a big base, got a lot of subscribers, I got a lot of followers. This is something that's been a bucket list thing for me to do. And, I'm having fun doing it. Be real. That's what it is. You're not a fighter. You're not a real fighter. So I'm looking at ways this year where I put that in my hands, where I don't have to bank on somebody else that's clicking for clout to try to match up a fight. I can have a sound fight, something that excites me, something that's going to be promoted heavily, something that's going to give me paid top dollar, because it's a prize fight. I don't want to be, I can't touch M's out here and then go back and fight for less. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at right now, and people respect that, and that's what I've been offered. So I'm just waiting on the fights and the offers that make me excited, that make me want to fight. Jake always made me. I don't know why, but it was just something about fighting him that pumped me up, that made me excited. And he got me to fight on 2 weeks' notice, and nobody, even the UFC, couldn't do that. You know what I mean? I was excited about it, and I jumped into shape. I don't know how I did it, but I was in better shape than him. He was looking tired and fatigued. He did land a punch at the end of the fight, but look at every round. I won every round. In the sixth round, he was breathing, huffing and puffing. So it's a mind thing. And when you're motivated for the right reasons, you can click your mind and make your body do what you tell it to.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Now, obviously, you've inferred the fact that you've got a lot of irons in the fire. I know you can't talk specifics at this moment in time, but what's your key focus at this stage of your career? I mean, is it about adding to your legacy? Is it about making as much money as possible, or are you fighting just for the love of it?
It's about meaning, and everything goes with it. It's about purpose. It's about when I fight somebody next, the fights I'm looking at, when people look at that, they're gonna be inspired by the matchup. They're gonna be inspired by the build-up. They're gonna be inspired by the production and the treatment of it. They're gonna feel a whole type of way about it, whether they want to see me win, lose, or draw. Nobody's gonna look at me like, oh, he's fighting. Oh, okay. Everybody's gonna like, damn, that matchup, or dang, that venue, or dang, that location, or the card, or everything that it stands for. I want to fight with purpose now. And I feel like I can reach a stronger crowd base and fan base and platform if I'm fighting for something, like if I'm fighting for a cause, if I'm fighting for a strong message, and I'm fighting in just an arena that just make people skin just hair stand up on their skin. That's what I'm looking at now, and I'm very, very close to locking those in. So you'll see me fight a couple times this year, and we'll go from there.
I look forward to it. You mentioned the man's name a couple of minutes ago, so I've got to ask, what was your opinion on Tommy Fury defeating Jake Paul on last Sunday night?
I thought it was a good fight, to be honest. I mean, people can say what they want to say, but it was a good fight. You know what I mean? Tommy hit the canvas once. It was I don't know who got the point deducted, if it was Tommy or Jake.
They both had a point deducted.
They did?
They both had a point deducted for I can't remember.
Punching in the back of the head or clinching?
Yeah, clinching, I think it was. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So I wish I would have did that when I fought him. He kept trying to clinch me the whole time. But I to be honest with you, if I can be quite frank, I had to mute the TV because I don't like people to tell me what I'm watching. I know what I'm watching. I don't like a commentator to overly gear towards one person or overly praise something when the fight may be a whole different fight than what they're doing, and that's just the level of the commentator. And I muted it, so I knew a point was awarded, but I didn't know who got the point. I thought Jake had moments. I thought Tommy had moments. I thought it was a breakout moment for Tommy because he's been in the shadow of his brother, and he knew the pressure of losing to Jake and how he would have looked, and he knew Jake had the ability to knock him out with the punch, but he couldn't just run away the whole time. So he outboxed Jake, and he did a great job of establishing the jab. And then when he saw Jake was just hunting for the one punch, Jake never led with the punch. And I don't want to give away, what he should have, would have, could have did, because it's easier for me to look at my eyeballs in than being in there and doing it. So people can look at my fight and say, if Tyron can just do this, but it's not a video game. We're not controlling them with a remote control, right? But I saw some opportunities where Jay could have capitalized a little bit more. I saw some opportunities. To be honest, Tommy did the best he was probably going to do, to be honest. I don't see him having a better fight. I don't see him, he got hit with some good shots. He had a great jab the whole fight. And then when he saw Jake, he exposed Jake's experience level. If that makes sense. You can fight big fights and you can get knockouts, but I know one thing for certain is when you get knockouts, especially from a specific punch, you start hunting for that punch and you fall in love with that punch. I was an overhand right king, so I know it very well. The same. I died by the same sword I swung many years, and he was looking for it. And when you jab, you feint, we know what's coming after that. You know what I mean? A little bit more variety, a little bit more creativity, and he was still in the fight. One judge said he won. So one or two more scrambles or flurries, and I think he would have won.
No,
But
that
it's a
makes
good fight. We're gonna see it again. And Jake beats him. We're gonna see it the third time. And we excited to watch it. You know, everybody. Ronaldo was out there. Tyson was out there. The Bomber was out there. Celebrities was all out there. I would have been out there had I not had my own business going on. But I feel like that's the types of fights I want to fight. You know what I mean? I had opportunity to fight Tommy on the Floyd Mayweather card in Dubai when he fought KSI's brother, and Tommy didn't want to fight me, and I understand why, because somebody with power and it's going to stand in front of you. I thought Jake was going to get in his face a little bit more. That's where Jake had success with me and everybody else. He was willing to stand there in the paint and take a shot to give a shot.
yeah.
And he wasn't. He was kind of walking Tommy down, but he didn't have a strong reply for the jab. So Tommy threw a jab, he would make a miss, but he wouldn't make him pay. I think if you make him pay, or you jab it at the same time, or you push it down and punch over it, or you slip offline and combo through it, I think you discourage Tommy to throw the jab. He didn't discourage Tommy to throw the jab. That's probably more than I should say. But if Jake even hears this, he can look back and say, "Damn, if I would have threw more straight rights, if I slipped and ripped, then he would have put himself back in the kitchen, back in the position where he would have had more opportunities to get the finish."
No, it makes total sense. I didn't expect a boxing lesson from Tyron Woodley after this interview, but I'm thankful for it nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm a nerd on the low. I let people think I was just a strong athlete and that I had a right hand, but I really study. So, like, I talked to Jake before the fight, and I literally, to a science, to a T, exactly what to expect. I saw exactly what should have been done. I saw, because I broke Tommy down. I was supposed to fight him. So I'd already broke down film. I had already watched his mannerisms, even to the way he's built and the way he throws, his punches, the way he brings them back. So I really get nerdy when it comes down to breaking down fights.
No, it makes total sense. I want to talk about one last subject very quickly, because one of your biggest victories on your resume is obviously at the time of the undefeated Darren Till. Now, news broke yesterday that Darren Till has actually been released from his UFC contract. He tweeted subsequently that it's all good between the UFC, but I just want to get your thoughts on Till.
He was yesterday?
He was released from his contract yesterday.
Oh, I'm gonna call him when we get done.
Well, I just want to know what your thoughts are on that, and also
I think Darren Till is a stud. I think had he stayed a little longer, he would have been a title. I think some fights and some losses discouraged him, and if he would have had somebody like me in his corner, I would have not allowed that to happen. I've been knocked down a lot of times. I fought Nate Marquardt for my first world title. I was undefeated just like him. And I told him in the back, I said, man, I was undefeated too, man. And I never thought I was going to lose. And I told my coach, I got documentation of it on my Champ Camp series. I said, this kid can beat me. And he will beat me if I don't train. Don't let me ease up. Don't let me take no days off. I trained 21 days straight, twice a day with no breaks, because Darren Till was a problem. He has power, he has accuracy. If you remember when he first came out, guy was throwing head kicks, he would dodge back. His timing was immaculate. He had power for days, but I feel like I said before, when you get that power, you get those knockouts, you start relying on that power, and then people wanted to slow him down, and people want to make it more of a stalemate fight, or they want to try to tie him up, and you gotta find a way to break out of that and take that away. So I think it's good for him. I think at the time, like I fought my contract out. I didn't get cut. I didn't get released. I fought my last fight on the deal. And it was times where I thought I may have got released. But I was working myself towards where I'm at now. Now I make what I want to make. You know what I mean? So people are going to be reaching out to Darren Till, but I'm going to be one of them. I got something I think that's going to be real special for him to fight. And I think he'll make quite a bit more money. He'll make probably what I was making as champion, and he don't have to have a belt. And then he'll get his confidence, and he'll get his wit, and he'll feel it's something about the morale. When you feel like you've been treated well, and you're happy, and you're excited, and you're happy with your overall life, you fight differently. Like when I was losing fights and stuff, like I was going through divorce, and I was freaking just having a lot of arguments with the brass, and I just wasn't really motivated because I had beat the Natural Born Killer. I had beat Ruthless Robbie Law. I beat Darren Till. I had beat fucking all these people that they said I couldn't beat. The Gorilla and these, Carlos Condits. And I beat freaking Jordan Meehan. Jordan Meehan was a hard cookie to fight too. A lot of people don't give him credit, but he had smashed so many people right before me. So beating those guys, or even losing to guys and showing you guys what I was made of by bouncing back and coming back and making a run, you know what I mean, it lifted me up. But when I started fighting guys like I mentored these guys, Usman and Kobe. Like I got text messages to prove it. Like, what should I do next, and who should I fight, and how does it feel to be a champion, and what did it feel like when Dana wrapped his belt, and how do I get sponsorships, and they want me to fight you, but I want to. That's the relationship I have with them. So it didn't really motivate me, but now I'm at a point where I'm motivated to secure legacy. I'm motivated to show I'm the best in the world. I'm motivated to prove my supporters right, not the naysayers wrong. There's millions of those. I got probably 20 solid, strong people that are cut, bleed, and die for me. And I want to prove them right. I want to make them happy. I want to make my kids happy. I want to show them that all things are possible if you got God on your side. And I want to just really, I want to be the beacon of that. I want to be the definition of a motherfucker that never gave up. You'll never give me the break. You'll never give me the quit. I'll never be affordable to the industry. You can't never buy me. I always stand my 10 toes down. I never bent. I never buckled. I never did what everybody wanted me to do. I was a champion the way I wanted to be the champion. And nobody can say that for real. You know what I mean? You look at everybody else, they dressing how they think everybody should dress. They're saying, oh, whatever Dana wants, whatever the UFC wants. Nobody really like, no, fuck that. I don't want to fight Wonder Boy because Wonder Boy didn't want to fight me, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to fight Robbie. I want to fight GSP. I want to fight Nate Diaz. I want to fight Nick Diaz. I want to fight Bisping. They hated me for doing that. But look at how everybody, I would have been the first double champion.
Yeah.
Before Conor, before anybody else. But I was already talking about boxing. Before it even became a thing for MMA guys to fight boxers or influencers. Like I spoke those things into existence. So my path has been trailblazer from the start. But I want to have my legacy cemented. So that's what I'm on. That's what I'm focused on. So Till may not watch this, but I'm gonna shoot him a message when we get off. And I got some pretty positive things that I think he'll benefit from.
Well, if this conversation has done nothing but maybe helped Darren Till and yourself out, then I hope that I put some positive into the world. So Tyron, thank you so much for your time. It was great to sit down and chat and get some updates on where you're at in your career. And I wish you the best of luck with the next move.
Thank you, my man. All love.